Hello there, lovely folks of YouTube. Ren here. So I wanted to show you and talk about something that has been making the rounds for a long time. It's called Four Thieves Vinegar. So this is a recipe that has its origins from a legend in the 17th, 18th century. There was a plague that struck Marseille, a city in France. And the legend goes that there were four thieves who would go around the town robbing the houses of plague victims, but they never got sick themselves. When they were finally apprehended, basically they supposedly made a deal. In exchange for not being executed, they would give the secret for how they managed to not get sick from the plague. And their secret was this vinegar that they had made. Now, here's where it gets interesting because it sort of diverges from what we're doing with Four Thieves now. In the original legends, the Four Thieves would use the vinegar as an antiseptic wash for their hands and faces after coming in contact with plague victims. Most of the products that you see now out and about with thieves in the name are typically intended to be ingested as like an immune booster, essential oils that you can put on your body, vinegars that you can use to make salad dressing, things of that nature. But that's not actually what the Four Thieves vinegar was originally used for. It was originally an antiseptic wash. So that's what we're going to make. We're going to make a Four Thieves vinegar that we're going to use as a cleaning supply. Now, vinegar is actually a fairly effective antimicrobial cleanser on its own. It's not as effective as bleach. So if you have active illness in your home, you probably want to use a dilute bleach solution instead of this. But this is a good everyday cleanser. It does help to reduce the microbial load. I do have to give you the caveat, though, that reducing the microbial load of cleansers is usually based on something called wet time, okay? And that's basically how long the bacteria has to be in contact with the solution in order for the solution to break down the bacteria. Bleach usually has a wet time of about 4 minutes. In the hospital, we use some microbial cleansers that have a wet time of only 2 minutes. Vinegar's wet time is anywhere up to 15 minutes. So it really, the object has to stay wet with vinegar for up to 15 minutes for it to really be effective in studies. At least that's what we found. So if you are going to use this as a home cleanser, my recommendation is basically to put it on your countertops or whatever item that you want to have clean. Basically wipe the item down with it and then let it air dry rather than actually wiping it clean, wiping it dry, okay? Now we're going to give our vinegar a little bit of oomph with the Four Thieves recipe by adding in herbs that also have some microbial properties. The advantage to this is that a lot of those herbs that have microbial properties also have correspondences with cleansing and sort of clearing out negativity in a magical sense. So not only can our Four Thieves vinegar be used for physical cleaning, but it can be used for spiritual cleansing as well. Yay! Double dipping, isn't it great? So there's a whole slew of different recipes out there, a whole slew of different herbs that you can use. I picked 9 of the herbs that I happen to have on hand. Now, what I happen to have on hand is probably going to be very different from what most people will have on hand because I grow a lot of weird things in my garden. But I'm going to give a big list down at the bottom here that's going to give you a whole bunch of different options that you can just pick and choose from to make your own blend of Four Thieves vinegar for cleaning and cleansing. So, let's see. So, here's what we're going to start with. Mason jar, okay? This is a quart mason jar. It's a pretty big one, wide mouth too, so it makes it easier to put our herbs in. You can use any jar that you want, okay? Regardless of what jar you use, you're going to fill it up about 1/4 of the way with the herbs that you choose. So, very simple method of measurement. Doesn't need to be exact. You're just going to fill up your jar 1/4 of the way with the herbs that you choose. You'll need a lid for your jar, of course. I have just a regular mason jar lid. I have several of these. I tend to reuse them when I can. I just make sure that any ones that I've reused are marked as being reused, and therefore I'm not trying to use them for canning because once it's been used once, it will no longer seal properly. If you have a metal lid for your jar, you're also going to need a little piece of plastic of some sort to put between the lid and your vinegar, because otherwise the vinegar will, over time, corrode this lid and then you'll get rust. You'll need vinegar, of course. I have a nice big jug here. This is just regular culinary vinegar, which is about 5% acetic acid. They do sell a cleansing vinegar, which is stronger. It's a 6% acetic acid. If you can get your hands on that, then by all means use it, but this will also serve in a pinch. And then, of course, your herbs. I have a whole slew of them here off camera, and I'm just going to start picking them out and adding them in as I see fit. So I'm going to start with cedar, partially because it is a really good antimicrobial, but also because it has a really good, clean smell to it. So I'm going to make a big chunk of this cedar. And I'm not going to be breaking this up into small pieces. I'm just kind of going to be throwing it in as I see fit. This cedar will also kind of give sort of a little pine sol sort of smell to my Four Thieves vinegar, which is something that I'm really looking forward to. So I'm going to put in a bunch of cedar. There's a stick. You can go in there too. All right, so that's a lot of cedar. All right, what do we got next here? This is Pennyroyal. Like I said, a lot of stuff that people probably don't have, but Pennyroyal is in the mint family. Not quite, has a more herbally smell than you'd be accustomed to from more mints, but still has a little hint of that minty smell. Wormwood. This is Artemisia absinthium. This is what they use to make absinthe. Also a very known antimicrobial. And they're using some members of the Wormwood family to make antimalarial medications as well. So that's fun. Yes. This is one of my favorites. This is not something I use very often, but when you really want to kick something out, rue. Rue is a good plant for just clearing out nasties. So we're going to put a good amount of rue in there. Rue has a very bitter smell to it and an even worse taste. It is edible in small quantities. The Romans used to eat it, but I don't recommend it. Here's another good one. Really, Persephone? Sorry, my cat, of course, has to insert herself anytime I'm doing anything. There's nothing here you want. This is Tansy. Okay, another good little cleanser. This one also helps to sort of increase the magical oomph of something and increase the longevity of an action. Here's where we get really obscure. This is Elecampane, the root of the Elecampane. I'm just going to put a little bit of this in there. This one has a very camphorous kind of smell to it. All right, we're getting into the smaller stuff here. I'm going to put a few juniper berries in here. I don't grow these. As you can see, I got these from an online herb catalog. Just put some juniper berries in there. Really good fire purification energy from that one. Same with this one here. I finally found my jar of cloves, look. So I'm going to put a little bit of cloves in there as well. Cloves are a long time known as antimicrobial as well. And finally, this is one that just about everybody should have, rosemary. Rosemary is just a good all-around cleanser for energy. Does have some slight antimicrobial action, possibly. And when I say, like, these are antimicrobials, I mean that there's some scant research that says that they might be, but we don't really have a lot of actual scientific research. So there we go. When we put that down, that'll be about a quarter of the way full, which is just where we want it. Now, very simply, I'm going to open up my new jar of vinegar here. And we're just going to fill this up the rest of the way with the vinegar. There we go. Put our little plastic on there and a lid on top of that. Come on. There it goes. All right. So that's good and sealed. Now just kind of shake that up. All right. Now, here's the key. Patience. This needs to sit and macerate for a good 2 to 4 weeks. So I would say probably just a full moon cycle. If you start this on the new moon, you let it go through the full moon and then back again to the new moon, and it will be ready then. So you do want to kind of pick it up and just kind of give it a good shake every now and then, every couple of days or so, just again to help kind of evenly distribute things, make sure everything's getting evenly soaked. Once this is done, you can just kind of take it, pour it through a coffee filter to strain out some of these solids. I would probably just put the coffee filter into a funnel and put that funnel right into a spray bottle. And then once it's been filtered, you then have a spray bottle filled with your Four Thieves cleansing vinegar. And you can use that for household cleansing. You can clean floors, countertops, windows, stovetops. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff. You just want to make sure that you avoid using this on anything that's like natural stone or bare metal, like a stainless steel sink or anything, because it is possible that it can corrode those surfaces. So just be careful about that. But yeah, that's basically it. Very simple process. You can customize it to whatever you have on hand, whatever you feel is appropriate. I am currently starting this in the waning moon because, again, using that energy of getting rid of things is kind of what I want to bring into this. You could also, if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of oomph to this by just adding a few drops of moon water, or just taking the jar and letting it sit out and pick up some of the lunar energy, let it sit out under the full moon as well. I do not recommend putting this in the sun, simply because sunlight does tend to break down some of the those constituents in the herbs that we want to preserve. So try to keep it out of direct sunlight if you can, but moon is good. Moonlight is good. So yeah, that's my Four Thieves vinegar. So I'm really looking forward to using this next month. But in the meantime, I hope this finds you well, and I'll see you again soon.